Okay, so moving on to the first question, what is Selenium and why should I use even Selenium, right? It's a perfectly valid question. Now we'll first see what exactly is Selenium, right? Now many people have different definitions when they talk about Selenium. Few people call Selenium as a framework, few people call it as a tool to automate web applications, and for few of them it's just an interface, right? Now all of the definitions are correct. It's just the way that you put in, right? So let us see what is Selenium. Now if you hit the Selenium homepage, right? What does it say? The very first line, it states Selenium automates browsers. Now, what does this mean? This means that any application that you open through the browser and you have access to the application is automable through Selenium. This implies that any application, any desktop-based applications, right? Say, for example, if you ask me that whether I can automate a calculator using Selenium, the answer would be no. So any application that opens up using the web browser can be automated using Selenium. Now there are few applications that open up in a sandbox environment within the browser. Even those applications we cannot automate using Selenium. Basically, in order to automate the application, what you need to have is the access to the objects, right? So if you see here, when I press F12, I need to have access to the HTML structure here. Until and unless I have an access to the structure of HTML, I cannot automate the web application using Selenium, right? Now down the line we will see, now this is the basic definition of what is Selenium. Selenium automates browsers. It is a tool in order to automate the web applications. Now down the line we will see like why we call Selenium as an interface, right? So in the subsequent course, when we will implement the frameworks, right, then we will see all the methods that Selenium expose, and we will also see what all functionality does Selenium provide as part of interface, right? So now that answers the question, what is Selenium, right? Now why are we learning Selenium is the next question that you might have, right? And it's perfectly right to have that question. So amongst all the available tools, right? So if you compare Selenium, if you compare QTP and the other tools, right? Selenium has the biggest advantage that it is freeware, right? You need not pay in order to use this software. And also the user community here, right? So if you have any defects that come up in Selenium, there are many users who are fixing the defects and they contribute to the code base, right? So that way Selenium is constantly under development, and hence it is popular, right? Also, there are various aspects due to which many people prefer Selenium, right? So if you see here onto the right side, it says Selenium runs in many browsers and it also supports multiple operating systems. Also, it has support to the testing frameworks as well as the programming languages, right? So let us see how many browsers does Selenium support, right? If you click on this link over here, you will be able to see that Selenium, it supports Firefox, IE, Safari, Opera, Chrome, right? So these are a lot of browsers, right? If you are looking out for a tool which is freeware and has a cross browser compatibility, right? So if you want to test your application across multiple browsers, and if you want to choose any freeware tool, right, Selenium is the best option for web-based applications, right? Now amongst the operating systems, right, it supports multiple OS. It supports Windows, it supports Mac, it supports Linux as well, right? Amongst the languages, we again have lot many options here. We have C#, we have Java, JavaScript, Perl, Python, Ruby, right? So Due to all these factors, right, Selenium is popular amongst the automation testers, right? And that is the reason why we are learning Selenium. So moving on to the next question, do I need to know programming for learning Selenium? Right. So the answer is yes. You need to know the basics of object-oriented programming concepts in order to implement the frameworks, and also in order to write the logic, right? You need to have the understanding of how to write the for loops, how to write if loops, right? And when it comes to classes, packages, objects, object creation, inheritance, so all the core concepts of object oriented programming, you need to know that, right? So what language are we going to use in order to learn Selenium? We are using Java for automating the web applications using Selenium, right? Now the next question is how will it help me in my career? Learning Selenium will always help in your career. So just imagine that you have a development team which develops the application, and if you are planning to test the applications, right? So if you know Selenium, right, if you already know how to code, right, you are better at understanding the things, how the dev environment works, right? And also learning automation testing is another skill set which will definitely help you. So just imagine, right, so if you have any manual tasks manual testing that needs to be done, and you have been assigned say 20 test cases for a day, right? Now if you have the framework ready, if you have the entire Selenium scripts ready with you, now if at all you have to retest a defect, or you need to create a data in order to test a complex scenario, you can always rely upon the scripts that you have developed, and you can just run it and your test data is ready, right? So it helps in multiple ways. It helps you to understand the developer concerns, because if you start developing the Selenium scripts, you will understand what problems or what challenges the developer face, right? You will have an altogether different dimension of thinking when you start learning Selenium with Java, right? Because you understand how OOPS concepts are implemented, you understand how the classes are related, you design the logic when you prepare frameworks, right? And once you start doing it, you will understand the beauty of it, right? Now the next question, how much time do I need to learn Selenium, right? This is the most common question people ask, right? Because Selenium has like multiple parts to it, right? So I will take the last two questions together. What does the training include, and how much time do I need to learn Selenium? So if I move on to the next slide, you would see the components of Selenium, right? So we have 4 different components of Selenium: Selenium IDE, Selenium RC, Webdriver, and Grid. We are going to cover all of these components in detail, right? So on an average, if you ask me like how much time do I need to learn Selenium, I would say roughly 8 to 10 weeks, right? Again, friends, it's not a rocket science. You need to sit and practice all the examples that we are going to show in our training course, right? So 8 to 10 weeks is the average time wherein you should be good to clear the interviews, prepare and clear the interviews.